Have you ever wondered what it takes in order to become a real estate developer? In this video, I will share the 7 simple steps that you can take to become a real estate developer no matter where you are in the US. Taking a quick step back, my name is Dominique Higgins. I am a real estate broker for developers, helping them buy and build their dream projects here in Southern California. And this is a very common question that I get from real estate investors as well as budding real estate developers, which is how exactly do I become a real estate developer myself? Which is why in this video, I really want to hop in first with what a real estate developer is before going into the 7 very simple steps that you can take to become a real estate developer as well. Now, before diving into the 7 simple steps, let's make sure we're on the same page as far as what a real estate developer actually is and what they do. So with real estate development, there are really 2 types of real estate developers. You have the conventional type, which is someone who takes raw land, flat out dirt, and then constructs some type of building on top of that, whether it's residential, whether it's commercial, mixed use, so on and so forth. And there's also another type of real estate developer who takes distressed properties, whether it is a single family shack or a house falling off the hill, or maybe an old distressed warehouse, and then they reconfigure that space and create it into a new space, whether they convert it into office or work live spaces, or they might completely tear it down and then build an entirely new structure that is either different or better in some way. So in general, when it comes to real estate development, a developer is someone who purchases a property at a low price with the expectation that they will be able to add value to that property through some type of heavy duty construction work before selling it at a higher price and pocketing a profit. Now, in my definition of a real estate developer, I do also like to include flippers to a certain extent. So a flipper is someone who takes a house, makes very cosmetic or very surface level renovations to that house before reselling it at a higher price. Now, there is a full spectrum of real estate flippers, which I can totally take up a whole different video about, but for the sake of this video, we'll also include flippers within our definition of a real estate developer. And now we can get into the fun stuff. So step 1 in becoming a real estate developer is picking your niche. Picking your niche is so important because you simply do not have enough time in the world to look at every single property that comes for sale. You don't have that time and you don't have that energy. So when you're trying to become a real estate developer, especially when you're just starting out, it is important to pick your niche and to stick to it. Now, when I say pick your niche, what does that mean? That really comes down to these 2 things. You want to make sure that you've picked ahead of time what specific type of property or real estate you'll be going after. Will it be single family homes? Will it be mobile homes? Will it be vans? Will it be commercial spaces? Will it be retail spaces? Whatever it is, make sure that you narrow down into what specific type of real estate asset that you want to develop. And then part 2 is understanding what strategy or how you want to add value to that real estate asset once you get it. Now, another quick example for this is, let's say your real estate niche is residential homes and you want to add accessory dwelling units. That is a niche. Let's say that you want to take single family homes, demolish them, and add apartment buildings. That is a totally different niche and will involve looking at 2 totally different types of properties when you're out there searching for your first project. Now, during the process of picking your niche, you really have to dig deep and ask yourself these 3 really tough questions. Number 1, what skills do you bring to this table? Are you going to be the marketing person? Are you the GC or general contractor? And will you be doing all the construction work itself? Will you be the real estate agent and handling all these transactions? It's really important ahead of time to know what role you want to play when it comes to real estate development for your specific company. It's also important to know what specific geographic areas you'll stick to when you're just starting out as a real estate developer. Again, you are just starting out and your time, money, and energy is very limited, which means as a real estate developer, you can't necessarily be looking at properties all the way in Florida if you're based right here in Hollywood. Now, this isn't to say though that this will be your niche forever, but again, because you're just starting out as a real estate developer, it's very important to be hyper focused as much as possible, and picking a niche enables you to do that. Step 2 in becoming a real estate developer, you're going to need to build a strong and capable team. So real estate is very much a team sport. It is not a DIY situation. You definitely want to make sure that you surround yourself with people who can fill the roles that you can't necessarily fill, who can be in the places where you can't necessarily be, and who can do the things that you either have no business doing or have no desire to do. For a quick example, let's say that you are the contractor and that's why you want to get into real estate development. You want to get your hands dirty and do all the work. Well, in that case, you need to be looking for people who you can add to your team who can negotiate the contracts, who can help you find the properties, who can help you market those properties or get them staged or take the photos, because those are all the different things that you don't necessarily want to do. Likewise, let's say that you're a real estate agent trying to transition into real estate development and you have absolutely no idea how to build different structures. In this instance, it'll be very important for you to find a contractor to add to your team, because that's something that you simply cannot do and don't have the capacity to do, and isn't honestly a good use of your time and resources and energy. Because again, you're just starting out, and as a budding developer, it's important for you to stay as focused as possible on your goals at hand. Now, these are just a few examples of the types of professionals that you can add onto your real estate team to be the most successful it can be in terms of real estate development. The third step in becoming a real estate developer is securing a lender. That means finding the person who's going to give you the money so that you can purchase and renovate the different projects that you want to do. Now, typically, banks won't do real estate development loans because honestly, if you're just starting out, you're going to lack the experience and the capital that they typically like to see. But don't worry, because in real estate, there are actually two main sources of funds or financing where you can go to in order to raise capital or money in order to start becoming a real estate developer. The first is through hard money lenders. Now, hard money lenders are a specific type of lender that focuses exclusively on working with real estate developers in order to provide them the funds in order to purchase and construct different projects. Typically, the loans that hard money lenders do are very short, so they'll only last up to a year, and they can charge some high interest rates. But what's really great about hard money lenders is that they're very flexible and they understand the business and that you're just starting out. The second way that you can secure financing in order to become a real estate developer is to use what is called private money. Now, private money honestly is just a very fancy term to refer to family, friends, work colleagues, or anyone else that you know personally who is willing to lend you money in order to, like we said before, buy and renovate your first potential real estate project. No matter which route you decide to go down, it's important to make sure that you just don't choose or pick anyone just because they're willing to lend you money. In the long run, you're trying to build a long-term business and you're trying to build a long-term relationship. You want the person who lends you money to stick around, not just for the first one, but for the second, third, fourth, and fifth. Honestly, because you'll be able to get better rates as time goes on. It was really helpful. But above all else, it's important to invest the time up front in making sure that this person, whether it's a private money lender or whether it's a hard money lender, making sure that they're the right fit for you and they're actually invested in making sure that your business takes off. So now that you have a niche, a team, and money, it's time to find your first project, which leads me to step number 4 in the process of becoming a real estate developer. You gotta find the first property that you're going to develop. Now, in today's market, that's gonna be a little bit tough, which means that you and your team will have to get very creative when it comes to finding the different properties that will meet your specific goals. As you're looking at different properties as well, there are two main things that you definitely want to be on the lookout for. The first is you want to make sure that the numbers make sense for every single property that you even think about submitting an offer on. What this means is essentially you want to create almost a mini plan for each individual property that you come across and say, okay, what is going to be the list price? How much work am I going to put into it? What are the closing costs that are involved? How much can I sell it for? What happens if X, Y, Z? All these different kind of exit strategies in case something goes wrong with that plan. If a property doesn't meet your specific criteria or doesn't pan out as far as the numbers, that will tell you right away it's not worth looking at anymore, and you can save your time, save your money, and save your energy and keep looking and finding something else that probably does. Now, the second core thing when you're looking at different properties out there is to also make sure that you do all your due diligence, especially when it comes to the development side. For example, if your specific niche is taking real estate and developing into apartment buildings, making sure you do your due diligence to make sure that that is actually possible, or that the local city will actually allow you to do that. This by far is the biggest mistake that different developers do, especially when they're just starting out, is they get so anxious and they jump on the first property that they see, and then the city is the one to inform them that, oh, hey, there's actually this ordinance that prevents you from developing that type of use. Or, hey, there's actually this soils report that you're gonna need, and it turns out there's uranium in the ground and you have to pay $100,000 to get rid of it. There are so many more stories like this when it comes to real estate development, and these are all surprises that you don't want to find out after you've bought the property. However, when you do come across a property where the numbers pan out, you have a plan, and you've done your due diligence, and you know you have a clear path in order to develop, that leads us to step number 5 in the process to become a real estate developer, which is to actually develop the property itself. So this is where you get your full fun and creativity when it comes to real estate development. You're able to get your hands dirty, get the different plans and permits that you'll need, start knocking down walls or doing the other type of construction work to really build out the vision that you have for a project. As you're developing that project, make sure to avoid some of these very common mishaps that real estate developers do when they're just starting out, or even if I've seen some people do it who have been doing it for years and they still do these different things. Try to avoid having having windows painted shut or uneven floorboards, that's honestly the worst, or crooked paint lines or ceiling lines. Try to avoid all of that. Honestly, it doesn't make any sense and it will not set you off on a good path to become a real estate developer. Now, this is by no means to say that you won't make mistakes. Everybody does, but you keep the quality of that project on budget and on point. Now, once you've completed the development of that project, construction is done, you've got your certificate of occupancy, and you are ready to list it. This leads us to step number 6, which is becoming the flexible seller when it comes to real estate development. Now, this by far is so overlooked, but also so important. You don't want to put too many hurdles in the way for people to see the property in order to make offers on the property. And you also want to make sure that if somebody comes to you with an offer, but there's just certain things that they want fixed, or there's certain things that they'll need kind of help on, take those into consideration and take them seriously and not discredit them just too quickly. And I do speak from personal experience from this. So when I did my first development project, which was a condo, I added a bedroom to it and reconfigured the spaces. I was not the flexible seller. I decided to list the property in the winter time, which is so dumb. Don't do that. Totally different video. And I got an offer like the first 2 weeks, but it was $10,000 lower than the actual price that I wanted. And rather than being the flexible seller, I literally stuck my nose up to it and I was like, oh, that's too bad. And I sent them on their way, and I ended up sitting on that property for an additional 4 months, which meant an additional 4 months paying for the utilities, keeping the lights on, keeping it well maintained, so on and so forth, which ended up costing me much more than it could have had I just sold it to that first initial buyer. And here is even the kicker: when I finally did end up selling it in the following spring, it was to someone who had the exact same offer, and come to find out that was because it was something wrong with my property, specifically the HOA fees, that were the biggest hindrance to that. Which also leads me to my next point. As a flexible seller, make sure you hear people out and make sure you ask and request feedback. This by far is so important because people are actually very willing to tell you what is wrong with your property and why it's not selling necessarily. And again, taking my own self as an example, I never actually, during those first winter months, I never reached out to people to get feedback. And it was only until spring came along and I was getting desperate when I really started asking, okay, why is this not selling? Why isn't your client interested? What's going on? And that's when I started getting real answers and was able to move and make the different adjustments in order to sell it. Now, once you do close on your first development project, that leads me to step number 7 in the process of becoming a real estate developer, which is to repeat it. Repeat all of the steps. Do not be that person who does one real estate development project and then puts it on the shelf and then continues on with their life. No, that is not how you become a real estate developer. As a real estate developer, you have to keep going. You have the team, you have the financing, you have all these different things lined up for you, and you want to keep it going. You don't want to, because that will kill your momentum and it will kill the progress, all the progress that you just made completing steps 1 through 6 and getting your first real estate development project done. Also, what's really great when you repeat this process is people will start to take notice. You will start to build a brand and build a name for yourself in your local community, which means it will get easier because people will start coming to you and saying, hey, I have this property, you're a real estate developer, I saw you do project XYZ, maybe you can consider it. Or you'll even get people approaching you saying, hey, I saw you do this project, I have some money, why not I give this some to you? Those are the different conversations that start to happen as you continue to repeat the process and as you stay persistent in being a real estate developer. Those are not the conversations that will happen if people see you just do one real estate development project and then call it a day. Keep going no matter what. So there you have it, the very 7 simple steps that you can take in order to become a real estate developer no matter where you are in the US. If you enjoyed this video, please drop a like or subscribe for more real estate development videos to come. And also, if you're looking for a more detailed step-by-step guide on the process of becoming a real estate developer, please check out the link down below where you will find a 20-page PDF workbook full of to-do lists and different actionable items that you can take and follow, which is awesome. Until the next video, thank you so much, guys, and can't wait to see you.